Hey there, my name is Shannon, and this is a picture of the Hublot Big Bang Chronograph 44 millimeter. More on the significance of this watch in a moment. In the next few minutes, you're going to learn about a new technology which increases sales 30 to 300% of any website, e-commerce store, or online sales funnel. And at the end of this video, you'll learn how you too can use this same technology to add 100, 200, even 300% or more to your bottom line profits. So let's get started. If your sales and profits have been hit by increased CPM rates from Facebook, Google, and all the other ad platforms online, then this video is made specifically for you. You and I know online advertising is only getting harder. Even without the CPM increases, we still have to battle lower click-through ratios, increased compliance restrictions, higher competition, and lower user engagement overall. And all of this adds up to one thing. It's harder today to turn $1 into $2 online than it ever has been before. These same problems and more were what I found myself lying awake at night thinking about 3 years ago. To make a long story very short, at the time, our business was mostly consumed with high-volume, low-margin lead generation campaigns for some very high-profile nationwide clients in the financial services sector. It was a high-stress environment. Not only were the clients difficult to deal with, but our margins were so slim that we could easily go from $2,000 a day in profit to a $20,000 loss for the day. And all it took was one box not being checked or a misplaced semicolon on our website somewhere. Now, I knew I had to find a way to get more profit margin in that business, and I suspect that you're in the same predicament. It's easy to spend a lot of money on advertising. The trick is making it profitable. About that time, I stumbled across a study Amazon had done about how their website load times directly correlated to their product sales. Which brings me back to this beautiful Hublot Big Bang. It's not my watch, by the way. Since the dawn of human time, humans have always been obsessed with time itself. Anyone who reaches a certain level of success comes to value time and how rare of a commodity it is. We value time so much that watches like the Hublot Big Bang can easily sell for $25,000 or more. And you can spend a lot more than $25,000 on a watch. Hundreds of thousands can be spent on a watch, which is only milliseconds more accurate at telling time than your standard issue $20 quartz crystal model. So how does time relate to your website and the sales and profits it generates? Well, I'm glad you asked, because it's something we have become obsessed about. Now, remember the Amazon study I mentioned a moment ago? This study was conducted over 10 years ago now, and it found that for every 100 milliseconds of time delay, that's a tenth of a second, in loading Amazon's website, they lost 1% in sales volume. This means that for every second you shave from your website's load time, 10% is gained in sales. For every 2 seconds, 20% is gained. And for a lot of online businesses, a 20% gain in sales without additional promotional costs means 50, 100%, or possibly even more gains in total profit. Now, unfortunately, the answer is that not only is this study relevant, it's still relevant, but we've found that 100 milliseconds costs even more in lost sales now than it did back then. How come? People now are more distracted. People are on mobile devices much more than they were 10 years ago. People have a much higher chance of being physically moving while they view your website, whether they're walking down the street, in an Uber, or on a bus. But the worst part is, internet connection speeds are actually slower on average than they were 10 years ago. This is not because of lower bandwidth. That's actually increased. It's slower because high definition video is now consuming more bandwidth on our connections than it ever has before. The demand for bandwidth is outpacing the supply, which means time matters more than it ever has before, especially when it comes to the load time of your website. The good thing is, today we are seeing greater gains in website conversions by reducing load times than we ever have before. This is good news for you as a website owner. And it leads me to something called the 3x9 formula. This formula is the basis behind our process, which increases sales of any website by 30 to 300% or more without changing the website content or the traffic going to it. It states, in order to increase conversions by 30%, you only need to find 9 ways to increase conversions by 3%. 1.03 times itself 9 times equals 1.305, or 30.5% increase. The 3x9 formula is like compound interest for website sales and conversions. Now, there are several hidden treasures behind this simple formula. Number one, obviously, every improvement made to conversions compounds upon the other improvements. Number two, there are far more than 9 improvements to conversions which can be made on any website. Number three, some improvements increase conversions more than 3%, which creates even more leverage. But one aspect of the 3x9 formula is more powerful than any of the other aspects combined. The more improvements you can find, the more difficult it is for your competition to duplicate your business model. And this is how come our longest running client no longer has any competition. Their niche is extremely broad and in high demand, and it used to be highly competitive. Their competition simply cannot pay anywhere near as much as they now that can for traffic. Their competition has even attempted to knock them off repeatedly, and they've failed miserably each and every time. And that is because of this. 2 years ago, we started optimizing their campaign with one laser-focused objective: to reduce the load time of their websites. Using the 3x9 formula, we have decreased their load times and increased their conversions over 300% by making over 100 individual improvements. Now, admittedly, not all of that 300% improvement came from speeding up their site. Some of it came from optimizing their back-end technical processes and creating customized technical solutions which did not exist until we built them. One thing is for sure, any competition they ever could have will be at a serious disadvantage. Number one, they would have to reverse engineer the 100+ improvements we made, and a lot of them are behind the scenes, hidden from view. Number two, parts of the technical process behind those improvements are now patent pending, so their competition risks patent infringement if they did try to duplicate it. Number three, it would just take too damn long to catch up. They'd lose money the entire time, and we still keep making improvements to the client's campaign using the 3x9 formula. It's simply a losing battle, and our client is too far ahead now for anyone to catch them. It's a nice place to be, right? And that brings us to you. Would you like to have the unfair advantage of being untouchable in your marketplace? Could your business handle an immediate 30% increase in sales? Are you committed to achieving long-term dominance in your market? Do you know the value of having partners with world-class specialized skills? And finally, are you excited about your business and fun to work with? Well, if you answered yes to all of these questions, you may be a candidate for our service. However, I must warn you before we proceed. Number one, we move very quickly. If you or your team are not agile and responsive, you'll be wasting your money and our time paying us to wait for you. Number two, if your product does not have at least $250,000 in sales under its belt, it probably makes more sense for you to work on your business model more before you call us. And number three, if your business is not capable of spending $100,000 a month or more on advertising, assuming it's profitable, our service will probably not make much sense to you. So if you're still reading this, then maybe we should talk. Follow the link below this video to request a free website audit that's going to uncover how many sales you're missing out on right now and what can be done about it. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to talking with you real soon.